Good morning, Twitch, and welcome back. It's been a while, but we're here for another episode of Cozy Coding. I'm your host, Kid Billy, and today we're picking up when we left off way back at the beginning of November. I think the last time I streamed was in November, but it's been a crazy month. A lot of work to do, a lot of traveling. Was I kidnapped by the Russian mob? Was I hijacked by the cartel, or discovering Atlantis under the beautiful blue oceans? Who can say? Who can say? In reality, it was a mixture of holidays and work, travel, and honestly just laziness. Just sleeping in. So I do apologize for not putting out any kind of statement about like why I just dropped off the face of the earth. But we're going to pick back up, slowly ease into it. I don't know if I'm going to use a schedule at the very beginning, just because there's been a lot of other stuff going on that makes it tough to kind of plan around this. But, I mean, it's better now than never, I figured. Pick it back up on December 1st. I'm probably going to be out and away during the holidays around Christmas time. Christmas and New Year's might get a little rocky, but I'll be sure to let you know before that happens this time. Here is the saddest thing in the world, and not Dota buff. But in the world. Oh wait a minute, I gotta get off my freaking mute it. There we go. Okay, the saddest thing in the world is that all these videos I have are gone, so I just look like this blank, empty channel that has never streamed. I do still have my lovely followers. That's all of you guys. But I got to get back into the groove of things, streaming at the same time, etc., etc. But this is the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I got to make some kind of YouTube channel or figure out how to download these videos, because Twitch only keeps them for like, what's it called? Twitch only keeps them for like 2 weeks, I think. So I do have to actually get on that, because this is, makes me want to cry. It's all of my progress gone. But all that being said, it is kind of nice to essentially reboot this kind of series. Not that we're going to start from scratch. I really like the idea of switching from sports betting with UFC stats, which was interesting, but switching to esports, just because there's so many more opportunities for looking at different bets and trying to figure out like what the line should be, etc., etc. There's just a lot more opportunity there. I don't know if we'll actually be placing bets. I mean, that would be the ideal, the dream, is to actually place the bets. But in reality, it's just an interesting problem with a clear and definite payout. Each of these is essentially, can you predict the thing? And if you predict it correct, you get money. It doesn't get much better than that when it comes to practicality of using these math models and things like that. So, all that being said, I'm back. I'm here. Might get a little rocky later in the month, but I'm looking forward to it. This time, I want to try and upload all this to YouTube. I might make like a Kid Billy YouTube channel or something. I'm sure there's already a Kid Billy out there. There always is. That's why I have to do Kid Billy 2Ys, which I actually kind of like, because it sounds like 2Ys, like TOOWISE. But I'm hoping to get some of my favorites back in here, some of my favorite followers, those being people like, of course, Rando Weirdo, Miss Bell, and Bertram404. So hopefully they'll stop by. They were some of my, not that I pick favorites, but they were some of my favorites followers. I hope I didn't just betray them completely by just dropping off the face of the earth. All that being said, when we last left off, we were trying to scrape the DotaBuff website. So here's the DotaBuff website for data about esports matches, specifically about Dota 2 matches, right? So they have this international game. Garov! Sorry, number 4, you could be Garov. You pop in every now and then. I figured you were training to be the world chess champion. I don't want to distract you. It's good to see you here, Garov. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. How you been? But the main idea is scraping all this information from the DotaBuff website, or just getting it directly from the Dota 2 API, and then using this information to predict all different kinds of rival. Let's see if they have any good bets going on or good games. Ah, perfect. Yes, so they have just tons of games going on all the time, which is one of the beauties of sports betting. And we just like we want to be able to predict, for instance, who's going to win which map, who's going to win the match overall. We could have like these different handicaps. How many kills are they going to win by? All different kinds of interesting bets that we can focus on, and each of these is like its own. We do totals. Yeah, each of these is its own kind of project we could do, where it's like let's predict the number of kills on one team, or let's predict the final score. Tons of props. Who's going to get the first kill? Who's going to what's it called? Who's going to get the first kill? Who's going to kill Roshan first? Roshan is like this big like mini boss that you can kill. So there's all different kinds of interesting bets that we can place, and each of these, I see each of these not necessarily like I don't want to just produce like an army of gamblers. Not that my streamers are just going to go out and gamble all their money away on sports bets. Don't do that. Don't do that. What I do like about this is it's essentially like a more practical version of my very first machine learning project. If you guys want to learn more about the idea behind this project, again, I'll go ahead and post this sports betting with Python. The reason that we use this, what's it called? You made the, yeah. Actually, no, my cousin made this. My cousin made the art here. I enlisted his services, but I made the actual card here. So in GIMP, I put this, the image and all that stuff. But I did make this website, and I did produce this. I didn't make this actual graphic though. That's the cool graphic that my cousin made. But if you guys want more context about, oh shit, I keep using the Windows key to try and copy and paste because I'm used to working on the Mac. Here, I'll paste this in the chat. It's Dimon.com. You can visit the website if you want a background explicitly on how my initial, let's see, it's probably asleep. This is my initial like machine learning project, the first one that I deployed to production and whatnot. It was essentially, can you predict how good a cup of coffee is based on its flavor notes? And by the end of it, I was like, I don't even know if this works. So I put all this work and time and effort into developing this pretty cool app. Yeah, building it up, Gaurav. I put in a lot of time and effort into building this pretty looking app and developing the machine learning model and learning about natural language processing and whatnot, and associating each individual flavor with a score. And then I'm like, okay, so now I know that complex coffees do better, or I know that certain flavors tend to score higher than other flavors, but I didn't know what to do with that information. Like maybe if I was selecting certain beans, I could try and go for beans that had that flavor note, but it wasn't as actionable as I wanted it to be. And on the other hand, you have things like each individual bet that you could place is an explicitly actionable action you can take. It's an explicit opportunity you can take action on. So each one of these bets is essentially saying, like, this is exactly it. Like they have a 71% chance of winning, and Ivy has a 29% chance of winning, right? And if you can predict, or if you can produce a machine learning algorithm, or honestly just some kind of statistical method, you might be able to say, actually, our method predicts, say, 65% chance of Cybercats winning. In which case, we would if we're expecting Ivy to have even a slightly higher chance, then it's a good bet to take. That's especially true when the odds are completely out of whack. Now, there's a bunch of other interesting ideas from sports betting, specifically sports betting online, where you can essentially use the fact that they're all competing with each other. All these different sports books are competing with each other to your advantage, where it's actually a really difficult problem to place the lines, like to decide these numbers here for the odds. It's actually a really difficult problem. And the reason for that is these sports books are trying to balance bring in new customers with also not losing all their money when their customers make bets, right? And to do that, they need to keep the lines both fair, but also fair to them, but also both fair, fair to the customer. And when they try and do that, it's actually a really difficult problem, and it's easier to find bugs in that system than it is to write a bugless system. That benefits us, right? That benefits us as the consumer. And you can look into different, the technical term for it is called arbitrage. And you can look into different people who rely explicitly on arbitrage are called scalpers, because they just scalp like a couple cents on the dollar, just a few cents on the dollar for every bet they take by doing arbitrage. And it's technically risk free, but you can get blacklisted from a bunch of different sports betting sites, and I wouldn't recommend that long term, right? So the main idea is just coming up with some method where we can take like Map One. See, I don't know anything about these teams right now. Cybercats. I've never heard of Cybercats. Don't know what they do. Don't know where they come from. And Ivy. Right? Don't know what they do. Don't know where they come from. But the idea is, if we can take the information from DotaBuff about these different players and their different stats, then maybe we can build some kind of profile over time that's that can say like, well, Cybercats has really good offense, or they're really aggressive, so maybe they get first blood, something like that. We're going to try and coax some of the information from this website. And to do that, this is typically where my projects begin. They typically begin with web scraping. Now, web scraping is, just to kind of give a broad overview, because I'm going to count this as almost like the first episode of this project. We've already done a little bit of work, just some of the grunt work around like getting where this information is on the website. But each website is made up of, I was going to say on the back end, but technically on the front end, here it is, view page source. It's just a bunch of HTML code, right? So all the information here is displayed via HTML. So if you want to find like this specific guy, beastcoast.whisper, you want to find this specific player name, what you can do is you can view page source, Control U is the shortcut for it. But you can actually look for, this player is verified as Beast Coast Whisper, right? You can see different places in the code where this information actually is. And this is how different computers talk to each other over the internet, right? Is instead of just sending, like you could just send, no, it's over here. I don't know why I'm stuck. I think it's because there's a ton of information. This is why you don't, this is why you don't just navigate the page on its own. You use like a web scraper. Let's do line wrap, see if that helps. Might just crash it. Yeah, because there's a lot of information to render. But yeah, the HTML is what makes everything look pretty and organized, right? Or, well, CSS is technically what makes it look pretty. HTML is what kind of puts the information on the page, and then JavaScript is what helps you interact with the components on the page. But for now, we're really we're interested more in the information, and that's what we'll actually scrape. When you look at APIs, let's go like the Valve API. No, I'm not looking for the American Petroleum Institute. Valve API. Formats JSON. This is what the internet could look like, right? Without HTML. This is just an API call, which was APIs are specifically endpoints. They're specifically URLs you can call. Well, there's a lot to an API, right? But on a simple level, between like me and another company or me and say Valve, an API is just a URL that I can call, typically with a program that will just spit back information for me in a nice clean format. In this case, it's in the JSON format, which makes it super easy. Essentially like a Python dictionary. It'll spit back this information for me in a nice clean format. Now, like we had mentioned earlier, like this, if we were just to navigate websites like this, it would be kind of, I wouldn't stay on the internet very long if websites looked like this. which is why they're organized with HTML, CSS, etc. in this format. Now, if we want to get the information from this format, that's where actual web scraping is. Because as we discussed earlier, the website is built up on, at least the front end of the web of the internet is built up on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And what web scraping does is it helps us go from something like this crazy stuff. It helps us parse through the actual code, the actual HTML, to extract information in a nice, neat format. Or at least we can get the information from the website and then we have to process it ourselves and clean it up ourselves. So that's a lot having been said. Having said all that about the internet and the way it works, one thing that I like to use is this tool called CSS Selector Gadget. I don't know exactly where this plugin comes from. There are like a couple of different things that can help you, like a couple of different plugins for your browser that can help you identify this stuff. You can also use, I think it's the inspector. Let's see. A lot of front-end developers will use like the inspect this page, the inspector, and you can kind of like, I see a lot of front-end people using this. I'm not a front-end developer. I'm a data scientist, so I'm more interested in the information here anyway. But they like you can see, you can explore kind of like, oh, what's in this bucket, right? It looks like the what is it? You can see like the Beast Coast score, and on the right you can see the who's on the right Secret score, right? So Beast Coast got 5 kills and Secret got 34. And you can see that information displayed in this bucket. So this is the overall bucket. A div is kind of like a bucket. It's just a box that you keep things in, and then you organize sites. HTML is essentially like organizing sites in little boxes. So you have like a main box, and then you can put like a top box, and you can shift around those boxes, which makes it easier to position the information on the website. And here we can see, like if we explore the inspector, we can see that within this box, that includes, the Beast Coast score, the time or duration of the match, and the secret score. We can see that their scores are in their own little buckets, right? So we have the 5 kills from Beast Coast, we have the 19 minutes and 30 seconds of the match, and we have the 34 kills, right? And what a CSS selector gadget does is it says, give me everything that has that kind of style, right? Or give me, the dyer's information or dyer span, and we can select this bucket, right? Match victory subtitle. And this goes into the HTML. And it actually, so let's look at for 1930. So you can find this in the actual crazy CSS code. Yeah, okay. Game 2, class duration. This is where it is. So I can tell that this is where it is because A, I've been web scraping for a little bit now, and B, because I can see the information from the website. It's kind of hard to see, right? Because it's just buried in all this crap. But we can see our 19 minutes and 30 seconds there, right? Next to the radiant score and the dyer score. So we have these different classes, duration, right? So this one actually is class the dyer score, right? And we wanted match victory subtitle. Okay, hang on. Let's see if we can get this. Duration. Yeah, but we wanted not this one. How do I get that off there? I don't know why that's here. Let's get rid of this. There we go. Dot duration. Yeah, that's not what I wanted though. Let's look up the dyer score. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, okay, so this is the dot duration CSS. So the class that it's associated with is going to be duration. This thing, the dyer score, the CSS selector for this would be just dot the dyer score. So let's see. Let's see if this works. I don't know if it's going to work because it has a space in it. But what if we did this? Dot the dyer score. No, it's not going to work. Dang it. Oh well. We do dot duration. Actually, right now I really want to see how we can get that CSS. Dot the dire. Oh, maybe it just cuts off because score has a space in it. But I guess this is short for the dire score, right? Because that's this tiny piece of information, the 34 kills that they got in that game, right? So this is the main idea behind web scraping. It's like, or actually, you know what? Hang on. We'll make this more explicit. Bring out our scrapey shell. Activate. I even remembered the environment name. Okay, so can I can I change this to hacker mode? Yes, I can change it to hacker mode. Okay, so here we're about to open up a. Can I do scrapey shell from here? Oh, actually, can I do scrapey shell from the command line? From just or the command prompt? Let's see. This would be really cool. First, we got to go to hacker mode. Hacker mode is my personal preset for the terminal. And basically what that does is turns it green. So if we want to do a scrapey shell, shit, we do have to actually use scrapey shell. Okay, perfect. So this is working, but we actually got to do a scrapey shell on this URL. So now we're actually getting into web scraping. First, I exit. And then we're going to do scrapey shell and then this website. So what this is going to do is it's going to call the website and return this HTML page that we'll be able to parse. Now the thing is, the thing is, this is exactly what we're doing when we're using our browser. A browser is just a middleman between. A browser is essentially just a middleman between us and this information, right? Another way we could get this information is to get Python to call it for us, right? So we can just use our robot to call the website. That's a whole other discussion about whether, why, when to do that instead of just using. I'll put it over here so you guys can actually see it in my my character card isn't there. But there's all different kinds of questions about like why would we call the internet this way. The main thing is it makes it super easy to get the information from a website, and that's what web scraping is all about, right? So if we're interested in getting all the information from a website, it makes more sense to use a robot to click on this page and then get the information from this page and then move to another page, etc., etc., etc. So now that we've accessed this page, what we want to do is actually get, let's say we want to get this piece of information. So if we wanted to go navigate to this page, which when we call scrapey shell with this URL, right? So scrapey shell URL, what that does is it's essentially the exact same thing as us using our browser to visit the website. So it's the exact same thing as doing this. And every time we call scrapey shell on this URL, which just so happens to rhyme, it's like refreshing the page, right? So each time that we get the information from the page, it looks like this on our browser, but on our scrapey shell, it looks like this. Response.text. Looks like this, right? So this is all this crazy crap. Look at that. Look at all this crap. And now we get to dig around in the mud and look for the actual information that we're interested in. So, oh my goodness. See, this is all the crap that we got to sift through. Now, thankfully, as I'd mentioned, we have a way to separate the wheat from the chaff in all of this information. Like we might not be interested in, say, this image, Singapore span image avatar. It's like, okay, great. We could just get, instead of Singapore, the international image, we can just get that information from the international 2022, right? So header, content, esports link. So this, the actual text in here would represent the international. What we're interested in, just to kind of give an example of how all this crap works, what we're interested in is getting the number of kills from the Dire. So how we can do that is this CSS selector makes it super easy. We just click on the information we want, and then we remove. So this yellow one is like this information is also captured. And I can actually show you what that looks like real quick. So I'll just go ahead and let's say we wanted to get like this information, but this was highlighted yellow. What we would do is we would call this score CSS. So this is a response. So this is the actual CSS selector. Let's see, it was like dot get text text. No, get. Close enough. So we can see that information is within this div class. There's some way to actually get the CSS that doesn't include this crap to extract it from the actual. Oh, actually, hang on. Get attribute div. No, we don't use uppercases in coding. I don't know why my brain. Not text, or is that already? Yeah, it's a string. Damn. Oh well, we'll deal with that in a little bit because I know there's a way to actually extract this specific two. We want this integer two, but actually we don't want this integer two because that's not the number of kills that the Dire got. What we want is this 34, right? So what we can do is we can just say, well, we actually didn't want this information. So it's highlighted yellow. The reason it says 2 is because this is a 2. That might be easier to see. Yeah, you can see that's a 2, right? But we can just click on this and say, actually, we don't want this. And it's pretty good about getting rid of anything that was just .score. And now the only thing unique to this value 34 was the dash dire. So if we do the dash dire and we get response.css of the dash dire. Oh, fuck. I just closed the shell by accident. So I'm going to have to recall the website. You want to call the website as few times as possible. Because otherwise you're just hitting them with a ton of requests, and that can be a lot for the server. So you don't want to just bomb their server with requests. That's actually called a DDoS attack, which is when you just ping them a ton of times and it just overloads them or overwhelms them. Don't do that. So we're gonna go ahead and oh god damn it. I gotta write the whole line. I gotta write a whole line of code again. Response.css. What a waste of my time. Get dire. Duck get. Uh-huh. And why net worth advantage of the winner at the end of the game? Ooh. Why isn't that letting me get oh, this is weird. There's another thing in this HTML with the dire tag, and it's not the dire space score. Yep, so we're pulling this. Oh, I wonder if I did. Okay, so this is just pulling the first. Oh, that's interesting. Advantage winner at the end of the game. Plus 11.9. So this is the number displayed on the website. I wonder if we can find this on the website. 11.9, 11.9. Now we can't actually see that on the website. I don't know where that information is displayed. There's some information around the advantage at the end of the game. Dire advantage, experience. That information is somewhere on the website. We're not going to worry about that too much right now. Let's try and see if we can .get all. There we go. Okay, so it's in here, right? But it is it's the second thing that's tagged with a the Dire CSS tag, right? So we can see it there, and this is the 34 we want. So there's actually, I don't know where this is hidden, but there are two pieces of information that actually have this CSS tag. The first one is this one that says the Dire. The second one is this one that says the Dire. And this second one is what we actually want. So if we wanted to get that out of the list, we know it's the second component. We just do that. And there we go. We have our 34, what's it called? We have our 34 kills on the Dire team. And that's the main idea behind extracting information from these websites. That's the fundamental idea behind web scraping. Now, there's a ton of additional stuff that you can do for it. And we'll probably be doing some of that stuff, like using user agents to make it look like we're using mobile or something to make it easier. And that can be super useful. But for now, that's like essentially that was like a 15-20 minute crash course on how web scraping works and why we do it the way we do it. All that being said, we've already got a list of the CSS selectors that we need from all these websites. Actually, the last thing I'll say about that is the beautiful thing about scraping the website this way, or scraping a website this way, is if we look at another page that's like this, websites are typically organized in a very, I don't even know if this is a word, but I'll throw it out there, navigable way, where it's easy to navigate them, right? And the way they do that is making things, like you're not going to just completely redesign every match page. All these match pages are going to be essentially the exact same. So if we look at like Beast Coast Whisper, all right, so this is one of their players, and we look at another match they did. Let's look at this one, right, where they played Bat Rider. Oh no, whoops. Let's look at this actual match. Lost match. There it is. So we can see there's a couple of interesting things to point out here. The first is you'll notice in the URL we have different numbers at the end here. 6806481932. And on this one, 6818528391. There's some cool things you can figure out about a website just by looking at the URL alone. In this case, it seems like this is the identifier. So if you want to get to a unique place on the internet, you have to go to this domain, dotabuff.com/matches. And if you want to look at a specific match, you got to look at this. If you want to look at, like, you know, when Beast Coast played Team Secret, you have to go to this specific match if you want to see, like, when they played Team Secret and it was like the match that lasted 19 minutes and 30 seconds, etc. This is the identifier. So if we wanted to, navigate to this page, another way we could do that is just access this directly, right? But you'll notice that the overview page, they all look the same, right? So this was 34 in the last one. In this page, it's 37. So if we want to get the amount of, the amount of kills on the Dire from this match, it's as easy as, first we gotta make a call to it with Python. We do that with Scrapey shell the specific match with its match ID, and then we can do response.css. What was the CSS we used? It was like .the-dire .get all. Oops, a double dot. There you go. And it was the last one, -1. It's the last one there. There you go. You got the 37 kills from the Dire in this game. So that's kind of the beauty of web scraping. The only thing we need to do next is figure out how we want to get to the next website. And just like how I'd mentioned, we can use these URLs to navigate around the matches. The beautiful thing about a lot of these websites is whenever you click a link, what you're actually doing is, so if we look at this like best of 3 link, let's actually open this link in a new tab. So check this out. We have the overall results of the game that they did against these what's it called? Ooh. Feels good to be back. We have the overall results of the game between what is it, BC and LGD, PSG. I don't know, PSG.LGD. I don't know what what the actual team name is here, but we have the overall matches best of 3 results. If we wanted to navigate to this page from the original match page, we can do this, or what we're actually doing is if we look for this link, let's see if we can find it here. Interesting. Let's see. I wonder if it's like the domain is already built in. I wonder if we can get this. Let's see if we can find this number. Typically, I like to look for unique strings, see if I can find anything there. No, I can't find that. Let's just look at hrefs then. Nothing. 1. Okay, I'm not even searching because there's a 1 right there, and it should be pulling up all the ones. Oh yeah, it crashed. Dang it. Screw it then. Let's look for response.txt. So we've already loaded all this. Actually, let's do response dot see it dot get href. Let's see if this will work. I don't even think this is, yeah. What can we do with a response object? Fun tip for Python: if you use this dir, it's like a built-in method, and it shows you. Oh, I don't know. Whoa, I don't know what that was doing. It shows you the actual like classes or it shows you the methods and attributes of the object. So let's see. And this kind of shows you essentially what methods you can call and what information you can get from that object. So if you're ever in like a coding interview or something, and you actually get to work with Python and you're not like coding in Microsoft Word, then this can be super useful if you ever want to just figure out like what your options are for using a what's it called? What your options are for using. Okay, well I don't know why this came back. For using a given object that you might not be as familiar with, right? So if you're not sure, like, oh, I can do response.css, I can do response. Let's see if we can do response encoding. Ah, cool. Okay, so that's an attribute. It tells you that the website encoding is UTF-8, which means, I think that actually means 8-bit characters in the UTF format. I think UTF stands for Universal Text Format. Universal Coded Character Set. Transformation format. It's 8-bit. Yeah, this is essentially like it doesn't have any. It's mostly Latin characters, I think. ASCII characters or something, or maybe this is the one that had more than ASCII characters. Interesting. Yeah, I think this one actually has more than ASCII characters. But anyways, that's besides the point. What we're looking for is like, how did we get from this page to this page? And if we want to see where that actually is in the code, let's see if this will work. I think the reason it's so damn slow is because there's like 5,100, and I actually don't want to parse the actual request we made for the information. But it's essentially these href tags are what bring you to another website. This hashtag actually means that they didn't want you to. It means they didn't want you to go anywhere after clicking on this, which I've used actually a couple times in my website. Oh, I didn't know you could actually control F. Oh, that's awesome. So this should be much faster then, because we're just looking for this string. See if we can find it in it. That is so cool. I didn't think we would actually. There it is. There it is. Okay, cool. So it. I can't believe that actually worked, but it shows us. Whoops. There it is. It shows us the actual link. So it's slash esports series international playoff blah 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 blah. It doesn't actually have. What's interesting here is it doesn't actually have the original domain name. The original domain name is dotabuff.com, right? But it does give us this link, which is saying like when you click on this, which let's see if we can find the text here. Where does it say the text? Best of 3, right there. So this text, best of 3, is associated with this link, and when you click it, you're accessing it, right? Or when you click it, it takes you to that HTML page. Again, what we learned earlier is that when we click on an HTML link, so when we click on here, it just brings us to this HTML page, and what this HTML page is DotaBuff sending us this HTML that our browser makes pretty and organizes for us and yada, 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 yada. When we're just web scraping and trying to navigate around, what we're essentially doing is we're looking at all this information. Ooh, it's all very nice, very pretty, but we can extract things like, net worth, net worth, like who was this player, what hero did they play as, what items did they get, all that good stuff. And then we can continue on to the next page. So in this case, we were interested in, let's look at our original code base. We were interested in, let's see, overview match data. Where is it? Oh man, it's been too long. Yeah, okay, we're interested in the overview page, the log page, and the farm page. And these are, we spent some time a while ago, back when we did the actual web scraping in October. We spent some time actually like looking for the CSS selectors, which was just the grunt work of, okay, let's go to this page and get this. Let's go to this page and get, like we just did with the dire kills, right? In this case, what we would do is like, okay, once we've got all the information from this page that we want, let's move to the log page. And the cool thing about this is if we look at the URL, all we need is this match ID, and you'll notice it just adds, I think it's called a slug. I think we found out this was called a slug in a previous stream. But we have this log slug. If we're also interested in farm, I'd be willing to bet that you just replace this with farm. And there you go. You have all the farm information. Or if it's like runes, right? And that's typically how people organize websites, or it makes it super easy to navigate with a robot. Occasionally you get people that throw in like a bunch of keywords and blah, blah, blah. And there's ways to get around that as well. But that is the major recap of web scraping, how we're using it. And again, the main reason why we're using it is we want all this information about, say, Beast Coast Whisper. Like, so this is the actual guy's name is Whisper. He's on the team Beast Coast. We might have some kind of model that we want to do, which is like, well, if Whisper always gets first blood in a game, that would make it super easy. If Whisper gets first blood in every single game, then we're gonna bet, or we're gonna make a bet on Whisper getting first blood in the game, and we can look for like, oh, what is the actual kills? Let's see. Team to score the most kills, handicap, blah, 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 blah. There are other websites that let you bet on like first blood and whatnot. I think there was another, what other? There was like another website I had. At least, do I have my Obsidian notes on here? Obsidian. I don't. God dang it. I had it all laid out so nicely. I had it all laid out so nicely. Damn. Okay. But anyways, yeah, that's the main idea. We want this data. Oh, whoa. I think this changed. This was 71 and 29 before, right? Interesting. Well, the it looks like the match starts in an hour. But this, I mean, that's the reason why I'm loving this esports thing is because there are tons of matches. There actually, fun fact, the biggest mainstream sport that has the most amount of matches is baseball, and there's a huge fandom around. I, I don't I don't know why I called it a fandom. There's a huge following around like baseball stats, and if you ever seen like Moneyball by well, there's two. There's the book by Michael Lewis, which was the original inspiration behind the story, and there's also the movie with like Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. But one of the main reasons that baseball was so perfect for that niche was A, because a ton of those stats were tracked and used for things like, both for like coaches and things like that, but also in baseball cards and, different. They used it as essentially a game starting out. And the second reason is that I think baseball has the most games of any like large spectator sport. Now the thing is, the reason why I'm so excited to switch to esports is esports blows that out of the water, right? Like you'll notice they have like three matches for they do three games for every match, right? And we can bet on each of these games. We bet a map one, two, three, so it's three times, and you can see it's kind of exciting. I don't want to see blah blah blah. Let's see if we just go to matches. And then we'll do skill because I'm imagining very high skill. I think very high skill is in the last 24 hours. So I guess there weren't recent esports matches. Look at that. Perfect. So you can see all these different matches. Yeah, look, this is 30 minutes ago. This was an hour ago. Look at this. Look at this. 200. 200 different matches in the past 24 hours. Look, doesn't even go up to 24 hours. So this, like, destroys baseball when it comes to the number of matches. I don't know if these will all be available from bookies to bet on, but this gives us just tons of really fast, easy ways to evaluate our algorithms and improve. And the more data that we can get, the more data that's generated, the faster we can improve. We started off this project with UFC stats, which was tracking UFC stat. Oh my gosh, UFC. I don't know what UFCS is. UFC. We started off this project using UFC stats to try and track UFC fights and predict that. That branched into its own other project called HitHub for our mini fighters, which still has a use, right? But the thing about UFC fights are they're few and far between. So it happens once a week. So once a week you have the opportunity to evaluate how your algorithm did. And not only does it only happen once a week, it like the individual fighters only fight like a couple times a year at most. At most. So even like actually if we look at probably the most actually no, unequivocally the most famous fighter of all time was McGregor. All right, Conor McGregor. And if we look at McGregor, like look at this. 2 fights in 2021, 1 fight in 2020, 1 fight in 2018, 1, 2, 3, 3 fights in 2016, right? Even if you collect a bunch of stats about Conor McGregor, those stats aren't as valuable because it's like there's like 2 years. Look at this, 2 years between different fights and whatnot. It's like, oh my gosh, what a big mess, right? And of all the he's only done like this guy's a super like the most famous UFC fighter of all time. He only did what, like 10 fights, 20 fights. So in terms of actual, usefulness of the data the UFC actually wasn't as great as this what's it called? As this esports match data, because these players, like unless they get carpal tunnel, they are not really going to get injured in the same way that a UFC fighter might get injured and then just like end their career, right? So this esports thing solves two problems: one of frequent matches, and two of not getting injured, or I'd imagine relative stability in performance. In stats, they call that regression to the mean, which is your performance over time, if you do it a lot, is generally going to converge to some kind of average type of performance. Not necessarily that each individual player only has like an average skill level or average performance level, but what you find is that player's average or that team's average over time. So their performance is going to converge to like, let's say Beast Coast is like the best team, or let's say Beast Coast is the best team. That was the team that we were looking at in this match. Actually, no, let's say Team Secret is the best because they just got stomped in this game. Let's say Team Secret is like just a phenomenal team, right? What we would see is they win game after game after game, and let's say their gold per minute. That's the GPM thing. 2.3K and look 1.4K. So let's say like their gold per minute is going to converge around maybe like 2.3K. Now this may have been a game where they just did really well. It may have been a game where they actually didn't do as well, but they still just completely dominated the game. Maybe gold per minute isn't what determines who's going to win a match. But over time, as they play more games, we're going to get a better idea of gold per minute. And if that is a good indicator of who's going to win the game, then we know that these guys are really great at obtaining gold, and that's a good predictor. That means that like maybe we could come up with some model that takes their average gold per minute and compares it to another team, right? The beautiful thing about that is they're playing tons of these games, so it's not like their gold per minute is going to be like super variable. Over time, it's going to converge or regress to the mean in terms of their performance. We don't get that luxury with a UFC fighter who only fights like 3 times a year, which is one of the main draws of esports. Another main draw of using esports for this project, which I'm pretty excited about, is the actual stats that are collected. So if we look at our UFC stats that we collected before, we have things like significant strikes, which is like how many times did you land a good hit on the opponent. The issue with that is like, okay, 36 of 66 were significant strikes. What is a strike and what makes it significant, right? Like those are two very subjective questions. Whereas in an esports match, the whole game is in a computer, right? Like all the data and information about that match is tracked. And I'm like 90% sure, I'm like 99% sure that this DotaBuff website gets its information from the Valve API, which for whatever reason I think was down when we looked at it in October. It might be back up again, but I don't know if you guys could tell I'm hyped up on a lot of caffeine from pre-workout. But the beautiful thing about that is every single stat that we see is objective. It's not subjective. It's not like, oh well, they earned about like 260 gold. They earned about 290 gold, right? No, the computer knows that they earned 279 gold because it's a game in a computer, and Valve is open and willing to share that game. That's another huge, massive draw of esports. Is it's like a data playground, right? Where we can just extract all this data and get a good sense, get an exact sense of how the game went down, right down to the time step where a certain event happened. So this is a great example, right? Like, let's look at, so this is the first blood. This is the very first kill of the game. We can see Shadow Fiend killed by Sniper, auto attack, lost 23 gold, fed, which means that Sniper earned 336 gold, 218 experience, and was left dead for 18 seconds, right? This is as good as it gets when it comes to event tracking, right? This is as good as it gets when it comes to stat tracking. Even sports like baseball, who have like these really sophisticated stats to track like physical movements and how fast the ball is going, even those have a margin of error. There is no error here. Unless there's an error on DotaBuff side or the Valve API side, there is no error in, oh shoot, I should move this up so you guys can actually see this line. There's no error in these actual stats. They're objective, they're excellent to work with, there's tons of information. That's why esports is the way to go. And I'm glad we've kind of, we're finally closing in on something that I'm really excited for in terms of a project that not only gives us like an opportunity to learn like data science, an opportunity to learn a little bit about web scraping, an opportunity to learn about the interesting sides of sports betting and probabilities and how we can practically apply probabilities. But it's all in a format that's like practical, right? So where I was talking about earlier, this cup up app that I built, like flavor notes, maybe if you're a really experienced coffee cupper and we could confirm that that was the objective result, that the coffee had, that those subjective flavors were objective, maybe in that sense, that would be a very useful machine learning algorithm. Maybe in that sense, in that specific case, which is pretty much impossible to obtain. On the other hand, you have a project like this, which is super practical, right? Like, can I make money with this by placing this specific bet? It's essentially telling you exactly where to put your money to make money. In theory, don't actually place any bets with this. Another disclaimer, I'm gonna throw that out there. Don't place any bets with this. Or actually, no, I won't say that because there are some people that might actually do it. Place bets at your own risk. I'm doing this as a learning project. It would be fun to make money with it, no doubt about that. But I'm really cautious about people getting hooked on gambling. I know that can be a big issue, and I don't want to downplay that. So we also have to be careful about that. But all that being said, the main reason that we're interested in this kind of project is it's very objectively practical. Where do I put my money to make more money, right? And we don't even have to use real money, right? We can just use fake money and assume like like we could just, okay, let's assume we placed a bet at 1.8, which means that you'll win the amount you put in back plus 80%, right? So if you put like $1, if you bet $1 on Cybercats, you're going to get back $1.80 by placing this bet. That to me is the dream. Like, it doesn't get much more practical than that. And it's easy. Another thing here, and this kind of ties in with the quick feedback of the data, or like the quick generation of the data with additional matches, is you get a lot of feedback or response about how your algorithm is doing. So if we place a bet on Cybercats and they lose, that might not be the end of the world, right? But if we keep placing bad bets, we're going to figure that out pretty quickly, right? And we did spend a lot of time building up Billy Bets, which is a Python module that helps us organize and build our own betting algorithms, which will use this DotaBuff data. But all that being said, or with all that in mind, that's like later on down the road. For now, I'm just excited about this project because everything seems to line up when it comes to practicality and when it comes to oh hey, what's up, Yuji? Hi, I want to offer promotion of your channel, viewers, followers, views, chat bots. Sorry, Yuji. I am not interested in. Not interested in that. Please do not sell things on my channel. No, thank you. I'm interested more in streaming this just because I like meeting the community. I didn't expect to meet people as cool as Garov and Rando, Ms. Bell, Bertram. I didn't expect to meet a bunch of cool people, which I guess I should have. Right, Twitch is can be a good platform. But also, I would like to keep a record of my work, which is why I was so sad when I think I streamed for like 60 hours total, maybe like 100 hours total or something like that. I streamed for a total of like maybe like 50 hours. I can't even remember. But all that stuff was lost, which is why I'm going to upload all this stuff to YouTube, which I said I was going to do earlier. But now seeing just all that progress wiped away, it's kind of saddening. But I wanted to use this stream just to kind of update you guys about where I've been, and also give a background on the project. I think I've covered the main points. Like what we're doing right now is sports betting. Or sorry, what we're doing right now is web scraping. We need that information to build models that will help us make predictions that will help us place smart bets, right? So this is what's going to guide the questions we ask, like which team is going to score the most kills in the third map, or who's going to win the third map, or by how many additional kills are these people going to win, right? So the sports betting aspect is more to frame interesting questions that we can solve with machine learning. Web scraping is going to get us the data that we need to build accurate models, right? And finally, machine learning or statistics, and specifically Billy Bets, which is the Python module we built way back yonder in the day, is what's going to help us organize different algorithms and compare them against each other and let them compete. So, all that being said, I'm feeling pretty good about this. I might just end the stream there because I want to start looking into, or I want to spend the time to look into how to actually get this video downloaded and then maybe build up the YouTube channel, get all that taken care of. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream there. I'm excited to get back into this project with everybody. I hope I'm glad to see Garov is back, of course. I'm hoping you guys come along with me, giving me tips and tricks and all that good stuff. That being said, this has been the reboot episode of Cozy Coding. Thank you all for joining me. Oh, you know what? I completely botched this whole episode because I didn't have... I wasn't cozy this entire episode. But we're back. Check this out. There we go. We're back. We're back to Cozy Coding. And I guess that would be the symbolic restarting of Cozy Coding. Cozy Coding, I always have this blanket on. I guess that's what makes it cozy. So, that being said, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate your guys' company. And I'm looking forward to building up this project with you guys. Stay cozy.